Thank you.
Okay, so who's leading our meeting, actually?
Yeah.
Maria?
Yes, I was
Okay, good.
leading it. So greetings to everybody who could join us, and I'm happy that we could make it. Today is very special day. So many things are going on, and I'm thankful for Laura. She sent it to me, her research paper today about violence against women and girls in South Africa, especially on the example in South Africa. And she's doing good job with writing report about in our conferences, in our committees, and in our commissions like CCPCJ and the Family First. This was the last big topic what we had in Vienna. We are now again in lockdown, so everything is only online, and sometimes the conferences are very short, very quick invitation, and so yeah. And Laura is one of the three. The Claudia, I don't know why she was always on time and always participated.
Yeah.
And Ritwania, she was also very much interested about this artificial intelligence and about the weapon, how to reduce the danger of war. Yeah. So they had we have the three internet. They have different interests to work on it. Yeah. So yeah, I forwarded the Laura. Maybe Laura can speak also about her research. And my hope is that the young people can work also with Shruti for the preparing the meeting on January.
Yeah.
So this is everything from my side. Yeah.
Okay, should we introduce ourselves just a couple of minutes each?
Yes,
then?
please.
Yeah. Okay. Who wants to start? I don't know. Laura, who want to start?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Laura. I'm 22. I've just graduated from university. I was studying at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. I'm not from Scotland. I'm from England, but I traveled up for 4 years for my studies. I studied history, and specifically my focus or dissertation was on kind of like a gender-based analysis to colonial history globally. And then I'm interning with Women's Federation in Vienna. So I've traveled out to Vienna. I've been here for about a month now, and I've got about 2 more weeks left. And I'm really enjoying it so far. Obviously, it's a bit disappointing that it's now in lockdown. But yeah, and it's really good to be here and meet everyone.
Maybe can I ask you a question? Huh?
Yeah.
You know, I glanced through. I didn't have a chance to read it because I just came back, but I glanced through and I have it on my screen right now. What you wrote, and I'm wondering if you could imagine that you could use that content and write a statement for us that could be submitted to the Human Rights Council, actually, because that, of course, that is a topic that is every Human Rights Council meeting we're talking about, you know, elimination of violence against women, okay, you're saying something specifically. I think it's especially South Africa, right? Or
I look at it from a more global context to begin with, and then I use South Africa as an example of where kind of mechanisms for countering gender-based violence could be implemented. So specifically, I focus on challenging kind of hypermasculinity and discourses around gender and gender stereotypes, and engaging men and boys within that education to kind of produce long-term sustainable change rather than just change at the institutional level. Otherwise, and then I use the example of South Africa, how they have kind of 42% of women make up their government, but this doesn't necessarily mean that gender-based legislation is carried out effectively because of kind of deep-rooted discourses around masculinity and kind of the hesitancy of women to kind of go against this hypermasculine norm within the government, and which kind of filters down throughout the society in general, and considering like local contexts and the history of South Africa, why that's the case, and how like an intersectional lens needs to be engaged with, focusing on like grassroots activism, because obviously South Africa has such a kind of unique history and not everyone will experience gender-based violence in the same way in that context.
Excellent, right, Shruti?
Yes.
Because we're already thinking, you know, the next Human Rights Council is coming up in in March, at the same time, almost the same time as the Commission on the Status of Women. So every year we have a little bit the same problem where we end up shifting our attention to the CSW at the time of our Human Rights Council, which is normally the main event for us in Geneva, actually. But if we could have prepared already a statement that could be submitted, which it's like 6 weeks, you know, a month before, so probably mid-February or something, we would need that, I think. But when I look through that, I even thought, can you put that in the chat? Could you just put that in? Do you have it handy? Or even I could, because I have it open. But maybe we could already plan that a little bit, Shruti, if you don't mind, Vienna, that we take your human resource, Laura, to help us in Geneva. Is that okay?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, because I see what you wrote is already almost all there, actually, as a matter of fact. We'd have to check for the words, the number of words we have and things, but it would be nice not to have just the last minute. We're trying to divide ourselves up between these two events. Yeah. It's really excellent though, Laura, what I could say. Anyway, I read what you wrote other times too. You have really a great talent for writing, and your concept, your kind of grasp of the concepts, you know, is really, it's great. It's excellent, actually. And I think very much in line with Women's Federation, because as you know, I'm sure from your Vienna team, that we're not just about kind of critiquing the errors of everyone in every government, but we want to quickly follow up with any critique with constructive, you know, ideas of how to make things better, and even ideally how we could contribute to that, in fact. And if we can even connect that to, for instance, our Women's Federation in South Africa somehow. We have Women's Federation there. That would be the ideal, I think, for Women's Federation, to have this kind of circular, you know, kind of reinforced kind of thing. Like in fact, we were talking before you came on, talking about Philippines, and we have some things started in that, you know, in that kind of dimension already, in fact. And we had this with, I remember FGM too, when we made this event in Vienna on FGM, and we had a young woman from, was it Kenya or?
From Kenya.
Kenya, yes. Yeah. Who won our speech contest in the UK the year before. And then we invited her, in fact, it was Elizabeth Riedel, in fact, invited her to the UN and in Vienna, and we had an event on FGM, and we had not only did we have such a great showing of governments who were so interested in this topic, even European governments, which hadn't been the case so much before, but because it was being discovered that FGM is actually happening in Europe, you know, even the surgeries are being performed in Europe. It was like shocking to many. But not only that, then in fact, this young woman from Uganda who's living in the UK actually went back to Uganda, and they tried to make some kind of, you know, they made some connection with some of the projects on FGM in Uganda. So that, I think if we can function like that, that would be really fantastic, You know, not just making great statements, but actually doing everything we can to follow up to see that the things actually bring change. And because we have such an amazing network of Women's Federation globally, we can do that, actually. We could do that, but somebody has to stay on top of it, you know, because, yeah. So thank you. That's fantastic, Yeah, maybe can Shruti introduce herself then, Maria? Is that? Yeah.
Yes, Shruti, please follow.
Thank you. So, hi, Laura. So I'm Shruti, and I'm turning 22 this December. So I'm also almost the same age as you. I'm working in the Geneva office, assisting Mrs. Carolyn Hanschen, and also, therefore, we are working with the NGO-CSW, where she's the president, and I'm the assistant secretary. I also work with a few youth groups from southern countries, mostly least developing and developing countries, creating a network of young people who can access events and platforms which are global, and creating platforms for them to empower themselves. So connecting, something like that. But I'm doing my I graduated with international relations from Germany, and I'm doing my master's with University of Peace, the UN mandated university, online. So it's completely online. Yes, that's about me. And it's really amazing. It's actually fascinating to hear your focus, especially the one you mentioned. For me personally, it's interesting to see how you have worked on how colonial history has impacted gender-based violence, because I read a lot and my interests are very strong in how colonialism and neo-colonialism also still impacts developing and least developing countries, in their growth, in their sustainability and everything. So from education to equality to almost everything. As I mentioned, I'm from India, so I mean, we have our history books filled with that, and we often talk about that, and the language we are using is also English. So every day in our life we still have traces of colonialism. So it's very interesting, and I think it would be amazing as Mrs. Hansens, and we could have your support for the statement, because every time we want to give a statement, we look for something which can create an identity and an impact, not like any regular statement which says, oh, so many women are suffering and this is happening, that's happening, but more like a statement which can be very unique in trying to address a problem with solutions. And it would be great to have your support yes, so what we're working towards, so I can just quickly mention this as well. We're working on a youth conference, which will be in January. So this youth conference is going to be organized by the NGO-CSW Geneva, which is a committee, or which is an organization itself, which has whose members are all different international organizations, such as Women's Federation itself. So we all work together, and so Mrs. Hanschen is the president, which makes it very special for us to work for the NGO-CSW. And we're organizing a youth conference, which will focus on simulating the UNCSW. So we chose this model of simulation for youth empowerment because we had great output in our first conference in April, so 2021 April, we simulated a peace building commission, simulating the Palestine-Israel issue, and it was a great success. We even reached a peace agreement, which was such a great thing to do in 2 days with real Palestinians and Israelis. So it's not like we made some nationals come and simulate, but with real emotions. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same, but we're going to simulate the UNCSW, and we're welcoming delegations from different universities, from different schools, from any circuits, and also mainly from our member organizations. So what we were discussing in our meetings with the UN offices, where we would love to have our interns. So New York office is also having 3 interns from December the 1st. So and there we have interns in our Vienna office as well. So what we can do is all of you can get together and participate in this conference as a delegation. So all of you can participate as a delegation, which means so it's for free, so you don't have to pay anything or something like that. So just mentioning that so nobody gets that question. If you can work as a delegation, making statements as a delegation, so coordinating with each other as a delegation, so lobbying and making things work as a delegation, but all of you will be allotted individual roles as well. So it means that you also have an individual role and also as a team role as your Women's Federation delegation. So that could be something. And what we also would love to have is you all organize a side event for us. So this side event need not have to be something like inviting great speakers, high level speakers, but also could be something which is very interactive, like an activity as well, some online activity or something. It's going to be completely online. So it can be some interactive activity as well. You will have participants from almost all around the world. So it could be, we will tell you how many people register so you can plan something accordingly. You can start planning something accordingly, and you can organize an activity even, which can be 1 hour, half an hour, 1.5, whatever you feel is. Otherwise, you can organize some event normally as well in normal sense. So these are the ideas that we have for the Youth Peace Conference, Youth Women's Conference, where we're, so it's called the Global Youth Conference on UNCSW. So it will be, yes.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add something, some other dimension to that, Laura, and maybe everyone is, so the purpose of this is, of course, for the young people to have this experience, and some might not know so much about the Commission on the Status of Women. So there'll be a period of training, leading up to that event, where the participants, even though the event is just 2 days, there'll be a whole period leading up to it where there's different trainings offered and kind of a little bit educational programs offered. So, because maybe even there are some quite young students coming in. But the other dimension is that, the reason why we're doing it in January is because, as you probably know, the commission happens in March, and that we actually hope this event will influence the governments who will be doing the same thing in March. So the outcome of this document, the reports that are written up, will be sent to the chair of the Commission on the Status of Women, 66, who is the South African ambassador in New York, as a matter of fact, and to the UN Women Office, and maybe even all the members of the committee, the governmental committee. We can see how far we want to go. So we want to really make it, it's a very serious kind of thing, because actually the UN is more than ever talking all the time. We want the voices of youth. We want you give us your opinions, help us, clean up this world. So now we want to really do that, and then let's kind of hold them to that, that commitment that they made. In fact, so
yes, that's the idea behind this conference, and I mean that's and yes, we want to give young people's work as an example of how much better the governments can work. So that's the expectation we have of this conference. It's too much, but that's the expectation we have, because we saw that in the Youth Peace Conference, like the young people just negotiated a huge argument which has been happening for 70 plus years. But so we're expecting a more efficient conference. So this is the idea, and it would be great to have this team of young people from Women's Federation working. So it will, as the other interns are not here, if Laura, you can coordinate with the other interns as well and try to fix yourself in some time. I don't know how often do you all meet, and how is your schedules working. But if you can brainstorm something and send a small concept note by maybe first week of December or something, that would be great, because we are trying to finalize everything before the Christmas holidays begin. Mostly we're trying to finalize everything by the 15th of December. So
The first week of December, Shruti, is this week though. That's a little bit short. Huh?
Oh, sorry. I mean, not by the first week. I mean, mostly like 10th of December or something. That would be great. Like if you can
So you're saying that she should, I don't think she can do this herself.
No, not herself.
But I mean, we have to connect her to New York,
Yeah.
to Grace. Is it Grace in New York that is kind of leading this team from the New York side, huh?
Yes, but since the other interns are not present today, so she could maybe just like, I don't know if you're connected via WhatsApp groups or something, if you can just have like a little conversation about what we discussed today, so that they know what's happening if they haven't seen the recording or something. But I don't know if you're all taking part in the orientation on the 1st of December, which Grace is having. Are the Vienna interns taking part in the orientation on the 1st of December, or is it only for the New York interns?
I don't know.
Oh,
So which orientation is this?
Grace had mentioned that we would have an orientation by 3 o'clock Wednesday, this Wednesday, day after tomorrow, for the interns. She mentioned interns, so I assumed it was New York interns because they're new. They're just starting on the 1st of December.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. So maybe we can, I will ask her. I will ask Grace, and maybe we can put Grace in contact with everybody.
The only thing is, I'm not sure, I think it's better, maybe not necessarily a general orientation for the New York program, but the point that would be important for the, interns in Vienna and Geneva would be more the part of their program where we are preparing for this youth conference. I mean, it's up to you, Maria, but yeah. I don't know exactly what.
I also think she will be talking about the parallel event preparation as well, which I think we're looking forward for the interns to help a lot. I'm not sure.
Are you going to be there too, Shruti?
Yes, she had asked us to join us on the 1st of December. So
even though we have this Middle East conference on the 1st of December, remember?
Yes, it's by 4 o'clock. This one's by 3 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So, okay. I didn't see any invitation going out, though. I know we talked about this, but maybe I missed it. So then, as long as we're there, then I think it's okay. Maria, maybe it's good if you can you invite your 3 interns to that meeting?
Yeah, if I have some link or something.
Yeah.
I will talk to Grace and
please
mention about inviting the Vienna interns as well, so we can introduce everybody to everybody else, so they can have a communication. So.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And that would be another opportunity, maybe when Shruti will kind of re-explain maybe something about this youth conference, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah. And Kyung-in is also now here.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome. Maybe you can introduce also yourself. We are now talking how to connect our intern from Vienna office with Geneva and with New York.
Yes, thank you. Well, I introduced myself last week, I think, to Laura. So I'm just jumping in because I missed the rest of the meeting, but I'm here like for 15 or 20 minutes when Carolyn was a little bit explaining, so it's nice to catch it. So it's nice to see how we can focus and how to say that, use joint forces. So yeah. So I think there's no need for introduction. I was curious about the piece you were talking about, what Laura wrote, but I can ask you later. So I'm just listening for now.
Okay.
Great. So I think we can. I think it's a great start. We can meet again on the 1st of December. I will ask Grace for confirming it, and and as Mrs. Hanshin said, we can work closely for the statement for the Human Rights Council. And also one thing that I would like to share is, as Mrs. Hanshin mentioned, participating in committees in the UN office. So what we did in Geneva is we looked at the program. Since everything's online now, we have more opportunity to actively participate, because now the spaces are in few committees are getting wide open for civil society to address. For example, in Geneva, what we did is we took part twice in the Right to Development session, the working group on right to development, which is basically a working group which is working on developing and passing a convention on the right to development, which will become a human rights instrument like the Civil and Political Rights, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, CEDAW. They're all human rights instruments. This is also going to become one such instrument. So it's a very crucial thing. And we had no idea it's going to be a very nice space for us to join. It's just, it was so much in alignment with specifically, I mean, to personally talk, I love the line of topic it was addressing, to how the basic history is how all the countries which were colonized, when they got out of after decolonization, they all came together and they said that development is our human right, and we need support to fulfill this human right as a duty and not as a charity. So developed countries should do this as a duty and not as a charity, because of the emotions the colonized countries had. And now this has come a long way, and it now involves a lot of business and trade and so many components in it. But it's a very interesting thing. So we took part in it, and we were able to address it so very often that we are one of the...
Yeah, meaning being able to speak out. You know,
Yes.
if you're in a big forum, it's not always so easy to raise your hand and actually be listened to. But I think in total, probably there were 5 or 6 times in the 2 meetings that we could make mini statements or even longer statements, closing statements to the whole. So but I think part of this, what Shruti is also saying, what she said in her first sentence, there are many opportunities, but you might not have any idea if someone is not looking to see what kind of way. And I remember Lale saying the same thing actually about UNODC. If someone is able to a little bit go into these different, because it's not only the big UNODC, but there are many task forces and groups within, and some of them might match very much with us. And of course, for sustainable development in general is Women's Federation. It's one of our main lines, actually. Yeah. So we really found some kind of a match there, and have already been able to make friends with some of this. There's a friends of
group of friends for the social forum. So now we're advising how to build up the social forum. So we've become so close, that I think this is that I think we're one of the 3 organizations which was constantly addressing the sessions. So it's like we were talking in almost all sessions, and the recent one happened last week. And what I did is, when I hopped on Zoom, I just wrote my name. I just wrote Shruti, and I raised my hand, and they called out Women's Federation for World Peace International, because they knew it is. So it's that much of the space we have in few of the things. So if it would be great if the interns can also, since all of you have different interests, if you can just look up all this, and we can widen our experience as well, our learning, also our presence in different spaces.
Yeah. Also, maybe one small thing too, that maybe not so small, but in this meeting that happened last week, I couldn't come in for the whole time, but I came in a few times for an hour or two. And when I came in the first time, they were just having this discussion. The chairperson was discussing about, he just came up to the point about gender. It didn't come up at all in the whole meeting, but he just came up to this point because maybe from the floor, someone was asking something about gender, about genders. Yeah, when in this new document that we're preparing, this new covenant, how should we write this? Can we just talk about women and men, sex, women, the two different sexes of women and men, or should we put this word and gender in there, which kind of opens up, of course, to many genders? And so I heard that, and Shruti was also in there. And then at the end of the day, we discussed a little bit about this, because also the chairperson that day said his solution to this was, well, anyway, let's just put it in. Let's just put gender in, because anyway, you can change it after, and then, I mean, my thought, and I think Shruti too, was, no, let's think about it, and if we want it or not, so it was, so anyway, finally, the next day, the discussion came up, and it looks like through some kind of discussion, and also Shruti even said something in a statement, finally, the decision was taken that we just talk in this document, we talk about man and woman, right? That for the more, in other words, we hold on to this space for women within this larger sustainable development category. And then anyway, we'll see, we might see in the future how that might develop. But it was one of those things where I think if we hadn't been there, even though there were some governments, of course, it was the governments who agreed to this, right, Shruti? Huh? The governments actually.
I think it was the governments who first said, civil society usually, according to the priority, talk after the governments talk. So the governments were the people who first said, sorry, we're against it, we can't do this, and then the civil society said yes, because let's keep up the words, the terminologies which we use in other international human rights instruments, such as the Declaration of Human Rights itself, because we don't want to create any contradictory or confusions in terminologies, because the world is not yet equal, and you can't think from a very centric view of one specific society. So that's what that was the argument.
So it was quite an opportunity that came up. But the other point, actually, I wanted to mention that we discovered in this particular group of nations that follows most closely this, that are in this working group and following these discussions most closely. Actually, it's not the quote unquote developed nations who should be in there. Actually, it's more the developing nations who are in these discussions. So even I felt this is something that we could do, is to put some kind of pressure. But I mean, in a sense, maybe this worked in our advantage, because we can make certain points with the developing nations that we cannot make as easily with the other European or North America, countries.
Carolyn, I was actually curious about that, because I was wondering what developed nations are in this right to development, because Shruti mentioned that it was the developing nations, or the ones who were decolonized, who set it up. So yeah. I was wondering, do you know, or what developed countries are actually committed to this right to development? I'm very curious about that.
It's actually very interesting, because this declaration was initiated by the government of Senegal in 1986, and they passed this declaration in 1986, but they had debated for 20 years from 1960 to pass it in 1986, because there was so much resistance from the developed countries. So 1986, they passed it, and all the European countries and Japan abstained from voting for the declaration, and the United States voted against this declaration. Now what happens is the developed countries are not attending these sessions. Otherwise, they're sending their least junior officials. The United States doesn't attend at all. The European Union just sends European Union official, not Germany, France, and they don't come at all. They don't care. The European Union official they send their least junior officials, which abruptly shows the level of priority they're giving to this thing, and they don't talk. All that they say is, sorry, we're not in favor of this. That's it. So they're against the whole argument. So
yeah, but this covenant that is being worked out, the wording, of course, will eventually have to be voted on by all governments. Huh? But the fact that these developing countries are being sort of left alone to craft this wording, I think that is really, for us, it's a great opportunity, because they seem to be listening to us, and I think we also have something to say. So,
well, I think if this is already pending like for 50 years or so, I think now it's actually a really good time to put pressure on the governments. At least if I look at my national situation here in the Netherlands,
yeah,
you know, we have, for example, this very controversial children's holiday that we have the white saint and the black slaves, but they are like the positive. I mean, for the children, it's just a celebration, but it is quite controversial internationally. But nowadays, just like the last 5 years or so, they are really aware that it's really not done and it's actually racist, but the Dutch didn't realize that or something. And so more and more, like the lasting effects of all the colonialization and everything is starting to also reach the common white Dutch guy, but very slowly. But I see that it's kind of starting, but that's also for me quite astonishing that, like, I mean, the Netherlands, they have such a big role in the colonization, and also they are such a big role in the European Union. So I'm really wondering, about this. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I think they really should. I mean, the ones who were the biggest colonizers, I don't know how you say that, they should be the ones who should take a bit more responsibility, right? So I'm actually very interested in this topic. I don't know if you can also put me in with interns or the right to development. Maybe I can also see what I can do.
Yeah, I think you can write more statements, because until now, Shruti has been putting down just almost spontaneously, just responding to the meeting, actually on the spot as she was listening in. So we can, with a little bit more forethought and sight, we can prepare statements for this,
Is there a certain regularity or like consistency that these sessions are being held?
I think it's once in every 6 months. So I think the next one will be in May. If things are better, we can attend in person, but the problem is the new variant from South Africa, the Omicron. I don't think it's going to get better. It's going to only get worse. So we can't be, I've left out the option of being optimistic. It's just so I think, but it's going to happen in May mostly. So
May is a half year away, then everything is changed again. It's spring.
I think so too. That's what I think. By then it's going to be much better, actually. So it's good we work together, Shruti. I can keep you positive on these things.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, there are so many things we can do, and I think that as we talk together, but I would say maybe Maria and Lily and Imgard and Laura and also Kyung-in, of course, if you can put someone on this task of researching, different possibilities within the UN system in Vienna, that NGOs have ways of contributing, so it's not just as the event, the commission is happening, okay, now we can make a statement, but really this where we can really influence the mindset more over time. We can do some research paper and we can submit it to some task force that is working on something, and I'm sure there are many, many opportunities, and maybe even one of your interns could do that.
Yes.
And I'm sure Shruti would be happy to kind of talk with, help on that too.
Yes, I
Right.
think even Lale could maybe, if we can reach Lale like for a piece of advice or something, I think, because now she's working in the UN in Vienna, so maybe I
Yeah.
think in Vienna, I'm not sure in Vienna or Geneva, I forgot. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Is
so
Lale the Afghani girl, woman, or not? No.
no,
No,
not
okay.
from Afghan, no. So so maybe she can help. Yes.
Yeah.
I have one question on Wednesday when it starts with
Yes, Maria. So I just asked Grace, thanks for reminding. So it will be by, oh, she mentioned it will be by 6 p.m. CET.
Okay, so 6 on evening, our
Oh,
time.
no, it will, she's talking about something 6 p.m. So something else. So it will be by 3 p.m. CET. On Wednesday, so 1st of December, 3 p.m. CET. Grace just mentioned that she sent you an invite as well, Maria. So if you would like to share it around.
Yeah, because we have also this committee on peace. We have also our meeting about peace
By 3 o'clock?
education. Yeah, by
At
3 o'clock.
also. Oh, okay. So would your interns come, or could Laura still come to the intern meeting? Huh?
Maybe Laura can come to the intern meeting.
Yeah.
I see. How do you wish, Laura?
Yeah, I can go to the intern meeting. That sounds good. In terms of connecting with the other interns, I don't have direct contact with them. I know Shruti said about coming up with like a concept note, but if they come to the meeting on Wednesday, I can kind of see whether they're like interested in doing it or not.
Good.
Okay. So you all three, I will come in touch with Claudia and also with Lithuania, and then.
Okay. So you're in general, you're in the interns there. They have some availability during the day. Usually, they're not.
Yes, they have some availability through the day. Exactly. They can choose. They have not. Everything is somehow online and
Flexible. Okay.
Claudia is doing postgraduate studies. She's doing for second PhD, and Ritvania, I don't know. She lives in Portugal.
Okay.
So her schedule is also free, as she said to me in the beginning.
Okay. Okay, good. I think maybe I think I might have to go. Is that okay? I think we didn't all introduce ourselves, but maybe I felt like I talked quite a lot. I don't know.
Nice, it was good. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so and thank you, Shruti.
Thank you
Yeah,
for inviting.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you then.
Okay, so any question or anything, Laura, or you're okay, huh?
I think I'm all good. I'll attend the meeting on Wednesday, and then I can get a bit more of an introduction to the youth conference and everything.
Okay, good.
No, okay.
Okay then.
Okay, yeah, see you then, Shruti, see you tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow. Maybe we can talk tomorrow in the morning.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, thanks. Nice to meet always. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.